Hey everybody, Marissa and Joe Morris here, my dad. I am a higher self channel, and we are here to channel the guides. And we were just having a conversation about how Papa can't eat. That's his name,
Can't
Papa.
eat. I was telling Marissa that I live down here in Mexico. My wife's Mexican. She makes the best carne asada tacos. I can't eat anymore. Maybe it's
Is it just
COVID. I
meat,
don't.
or is it? Can you
I
eat
don't.
veggies? Can you eat fruit? Can you eat other stuff?
I can eat fruit. I love fruit. I even told her I'm just going to have to just eat salad because I can eat salad with salad dressing on it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's got fruit and nuts all mixed in, it's really good. But give me a beautiful steak and I gagged. I took one bite out of that carne asada taco last night and I couldn't swallow it. I spit it out. The cats ate it. but
Well, I
anyway, it's
would.
just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. But anyway, and I was just commenting how good you look in those pictures. You've lost a lot of weight. I've lost a lot of weight too.
70 pounds. I've lost 70
And
pounds.
my other daughter, your sister Holly, is apparently losing weight. And I was bringing up to Marissa, if you're 15 pounds overweight, you think, okay, I'm fine. I feel healthy or whatever. Go pick up a 15-pound bowling ball or get a 15-pound barbell and
Mhm.
walk around with that all day and just see what 15 pounds really feels like. And if you're 30 pounds over, walk around with two of those. I mean, you can only imagine the pressure on the knees and the joints and your internal organs and everything. So, I don't know. I'm not telling people that. I mean, we all love our food. Me, especially love sweets. At least I used to. And
You
so
don't
it's
like
very
sweets before
easy. It's
either?
very easy to gain weight, especially you get hungry right before you want to go to bed, and then it sits there like a big lump of lard on you. We get in the habit of eating before we go to bed, and then we wonder why we're gaining weight, even if we don't eat all day.
Yeah.
But anyway, you'll feel a lot better, and I'm hoping that you are feeling better now that
Well,
you're.
I feel much better now that I've lost weight. I was actually going to do a before and after picture yesterday because I used to wear I had like we called it like my uniform. I would wear a white tank top that was just like a regular tank top from Brass Plum Nordstrom. And I'd wear this black skirt. There was like a long black flowy skirt that had like a short skirt under it. So you could see my legs through it with the sheer, but there was the short skirt underneath it. But it covered my legs because I felt big and huge because I had gained a lot of weight, obviously having two babies and just couldn't get the weight off. And I wore that skirt before I was pregnant. After I was pregnant, that was my work uniform. Every picture you see of me teaching, I'm in that outfit with a different color scarf. And I would always wear a different color scarf based on which chakra I needed to work on for whoever I was going in to do a healing on. That was kind of like my thing. I put that skirt on yesterday and I couldn't even keep it on. It was like
Wow.
this. It was like this. It was like, and I said,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, look at this skirt. This thing used to for a while, it was so tight that I would have to pull it up real high and keep it like up here because it was so tight on me. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I've really lost a lot of weight because you see the weight on the scale, but you don't really realize it until you actually put clothes on. And most clothes are kind of stretchy. Like I wear Lululemon and athletic clothes. Like that's my other uniform. So those clothes stretch. But even my yoga clothes, they're kind of saggy in the butt. So I had to go down from size, like I was at size like 8s and 10s before, and now I'm down at size like 2s and 4s. So it's like I went out shopping for them at the thrift store this time, not paying $125 per pair of pants. That's ridiculous. But
Oh.
anyways, yeah. So I can't even believe how much I used to spend on clothes, and there were such big sizes too. But anyways, point is that the guides told us, and I wish I had Janice here right now. I don't know if she's watching, but I've been talking to her earlier. But Janice and I channeled back in. Janice is a very good Reiki healer. I trained her, and she used to come to our classes. She's a good friend of mine, and she teaches Reiki as well. She's still back in North County, San Diego, Escondido. But her and I channeled, like, I think it was in 2015 or 2014. They said there will be no more fat people on the planet. And we were like, oh, we are not going to say that on Facebook Live. But we were on Facebook. It turned out that we were on Facebook Live. So it's like, there's going to be no more fat people on Earth. And we were like, oh, geez, this is like kind of like a taboo thing to like talk about, And they said, no, the vibration of the planet, when the Earth shifts into its own like ascending consciousness, and it becomes its own 5D being, everything on it has to be 5D or above. So if you're going to be on a planet, you have to be above that planet's consciousness, or at the same consciousness. And that's why a lot of people died when the planet ascended from about December. So let's see, the first ascension was December, it was 11/11/11, right? And then it was 12/12. So 7 years after 12/12/12 would be 12/12/19, right? And that's when COVID started, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then December 19th. So ascension symptoms of the planet actually ascending, like the Mayan calendar ending December 21st of 2012. That's when they said Mayan calendar ended. The world was coming to an end. The world was not going to be the same as we knew it. It was going to be over. And it was, because everyone became empathic and everybody was all up in everybody else's energy and everybody could feel everybody else's stuff for that 7 years. And then that 7 years ended and that practice period ended, the guide said, and we actually shifted into kind of like Christ consciousness. December of 20, because like a mirror, they say break a mirror, bad luck for 7 years, because each reality is 7 years. So 7 years after that, December of 12 is December 19. Yeah. So they said after the planet ascends, after that, there would be no more fat people. But who were the people that were passing away the most from COVID? Were the people
obese.
That were overweight. Yep, exactly. Yeah. So those people were passing away. And then, but they were also saying that human beings would not want to eat meat anymore, that they would get to the point where they wouldn't want to consume another being's consciousness, because we're pure consciousness now. So by eating another being, you're eating its consciousness and you're taking in its consciousness. So if it has a lower consciousness than you, you're going to be like, I don't want that thing's consciousness inside of me. So that may be what's happening to you, Papa.
Oh, it's amazing. I love a steak.
He loves meat. Jeff and him, I say their religion should be carnivore. I mean, if they hear someone say, I'm a vegetarian or a vegan, they're like, what's wrong with you? These teeth are for grinding meat. And I'm like, you guys are so gross. I don't like meat. I haven't liked meat for a while, for years now. I mean, I can eat bacon and I can eat some chicken. And if you cook it long enough to where it's totally burnt and I can't tell it's an animal anymore, then I'll eat it. But I've had a hard time with it for the last 5 or 6 years too. So
I looked up on my phone this morning is because we're leaving for we'll be in Mexico City for 3 days, but starting tomorrow. But then we're going over to Madrid, Spain. So I asked Siri. I said, "Hey Siri," on my phone. I said, "Hey Siri, are there any Taco Bells in Madrid, Spain?" And boink, all these places, lots of Taco Bells. So yes, there's meat in Taco Bell, but what I'm looking for, we don't have Taco Bells here, and we have real Mexican food here.
Peter was like, "That's not real meat, anyways."
But I miss Taco Bell's plain bean burritos with cheese. I love that, and I don't put any sauce or anything. It tastes really good, and I love the taste of the original taco. And so I'm curious to see when I get over to Madrid and go to a Taco Bell. They don't have any Jack in the Boxes over there because Tawny wanted tacos from Jack in the Box. But there are McDonald's and there are Taco Bells over there. So that's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to eating a McDouble hamburger or a taco or a burrito. So I don't think I wouldn't call myself a carnivore anymore because I can't seem to eat meat. But I'm not a vegetarian either. I mean, I love meat. But
yes, you love vegetables.
For whatever reason, I just can't eat it. But anyway, listen, if not to stop the subject or whatever, yesterday I said that I want to ask a question of David, but we didn't have any time.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I've had time to think about it now since yesterday. And I'm wondering, why haven't we ever called in David before? We've been doing this for 12 years. We talk about, in the Urantia book, in the story, the whole thing about the story of Jesus is them, everybody, including his apostles, all thought that he was going to return to sit on the throne of David and rule. Everybody thought that.
Oh, so that was what the prophecy said? The prophecy said that Jesus was going to be David's predecessor?
Even in the prophets. Yes, even in the books of the prophets. That's the way they describe the son coming back. The son would be coming and he would be sitting on the throne of David and be ruling like David. So we brought up David over and over and over and over again. We've never even tried to see if we could speak to his spirit or his higher self. And he came in at the very last second yesterday.
Right.
And that's because I brought up an example, and go back to it. I don't want to repeat it. There was a miracle that took place by a pastor who had lost his voice and then regained it by being in front of a congregation.
Oh, yeah, right.
reading one of the Psalms. I just don't remember what it is because there's like 100 and
I
some
looked
odd
it up
Psalms.
afterwards and I wrote it down, but now I don't remember which one it was. It was like
So anyway, I went over to Psalms just to get ready for today, and I started with Psalms 1:1. Psalms 1:1. It's amazing what's in Psalms 1:1, 1:2, and 1:3. Because when you get to Psalms 1:3, and I'd like to read these and see what David has to say. He mentions the sun. Well, the sun had never come. David was how many years? 600, 800, 1,000? I don't remember how many years before Jesus.
I don't even know who David is or what he was all about. I mean, I know that based on
well, everybody knows the story of David and Goliath.
Oh, he's the Goliath guy.
No, yeah, he's David. He's the little farm boy or the little
little guy who killed Goliath.
Shepherd. Yeah, who killed Goliath.
Oh, but they're not the same as Abel, Cain and Abel. They're that's separate from Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel are
totally different.
Okay.
And I was saying that you go to church and they read the Psalms all the time. People refer the Psalms because in the Psalms it's always glorifying God, glorifying God, glorifying God. And so my question yesterday was, what? David had taken a wife away from somebody else. You know, he was a ruler, so he was also a killer. He was mean to people, but he loved God. And why does God use people who are fouled up? I've always wondered about that. You know, Moses had been a killer. God revered in him. Adam, he screwed up. David, you know, he sent Bathsheba's husband off to the front lines so he'd get killed, so he could take Bathsheba. He ended up having a baby with Bathsheba, and it died. But then they had another one, and that one was Solomon. So we got the two big books. We got Psalms and Proverbs. Psalms by David, Proverbs by his son Solomon. But how could David have known all this stuff? And you said that he was a musician. And I said he was a musician. He's well known as playing the harp. But you know what? Jesus used to play the harp. He had to get rid of it after his father died. And it's in the Urantia book. It's not in the Bible. Jesus used to have a harp. It was given to him. And he used to play and sing songs. And but when they got really, really broke after Joseph had died, working on Herod's temple or mansion or whatever, they ended up having to sell everything, land that they had, little houses that Joseph had put together, little rental properties and everything. And he ended up having to get rid of his harp. But you said that David would sing. So let's see if we can talk to David. You said that he would sing and the words would come to him and then they would write them down. So the Psalms are nothing but songs that David has sung, but somehow he came out with some marvelous things. So let me read Psalms 1, 2, 3. You can interrupt me. It's Psalms 1, verse 1, verse 2, verse 3. So
let me say a prayer real quick and call him in because I want to call in the guy that was in here yesterday. He's here, but I just want to make sure this is really him because to me, he looks like Jesus in gold robes. And I think that if anybody's watched this enough and they remember and you remember, I'll go, Jesus is here, but he's in gold robes. I don't think that it's Jesus that we were channeling before. I think it was David. Whenever Jesus would come in gold robes, like sometimes Peter comes in gold robes and I call him Simon. So it's like they instead of wearing like, you know, because Jesus comes in, he's in your stereotypical, what my mind would see is Jesus, the white robes with the brown, you know, little rope around his waist and the sandals. And I see him kind of like, you know, it's like as if I'm zoomed in on him and he's kind of like maybe about 10 feet away from me, like at my 2 o'clock. And I just see him rolled like a hologram. But when I see the David, it's about maybe like 1 foot behind him and he's in gold. And I see the same kind of like Jesus head. He's got white ropes and then he's got the same sandals, but I think they're white or something like that. So that I don't know what that means. I could probably go back through all my stuff. If I actually sat there and studied all my channelings, I could probably come up with, or if somebody studied them, which a lot of people do, they'll come up with these like things and go like, oh yeah, every time you see like this, it means that it's their spirit or it means it's their soul or whatever, you know, people come up with stuff like that. But I think somebody actually said something about the gold being something about the Christed version of somebody's spirit coming in. So yes, that's what they said at the end of yesterday. They said David became Christed after he left Earth, and then he came back as Jesus. Remember, that's what they said.
Yeah.
Yesterday at the very end. Yeah. So okay. So let me just say. Okay. So So Heavenly Father, God, Source, Holy Spirit, Christ, all that is good. We ask that me, Papa, everyone watching this be filled with unconditional love, with light. Anything that's not for our highest and best good, that it be removed. And we ask that our guides come in. Any guides that are for our highest and best good. And anyone else's guides that is watching this, if they want to come in, as long as they go through my higher self, go through Papa's higher self, and through Christ. And as long as they're for our highest and best good, we'll allow them to speak. But we want to ask that David come in, the highest expression of David that can answer any questions about what was written in the Bible, what he actually wrote in the Bible, what he's saying, anything about his life, anything about himself, or anything that he had to do with here, and anything about Jesus. Oh, wow. There's about 45,000 Davids that just came in. Okay, how about just one speaks for you guys? Peter's like, don't call them all in. He's like, there's a lot of realities.
The David who was the author.
It's the same David. It's just it looks like a smear. It looks like when somebody runs really fast and they go whoom, and it's like shows, so it's like running in, and it looks like it went like an S almost, and he went like the Roadrunner stops and he goes doing like that, like the Roadrunner, and doing me. Like it looks like David just ran in and he left like a trail of a whole bunch of hymns behind him. He says you have to run really fast when you're running into the future. He's in the past. So we're calling in the David that lived then. He says, and then you'll be speaking with Christ, who is my spirit. Okay. All right.
So Christ was his spirit.
Yeah, Christ was his spirit. So that's why I see this. So
Christ always has his thumb in this.
Yeah.
He's always there.
Yep.
Christ became Paul. Paul became Christ as well. That's amazing.
Right. That's true.
Okay. So anyway.
But Paul represented the Antichrist.
What's that?
Paul represented the Antichrist. Remember, he didn't represent the Christ. So Christ came in.
From our channelings, when he went through his transformation on the road to Damascus, that's when his spirit or his soul left and the soul of Jesus came in.
Yeah.
Or Christ came into him.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was Paul's ego or human self that was the Antichrist, which in other words, if he now has Christ within him, he's still got his mind and his ego. So he is probably constantly having battles within his own mind.
Just like everybody today. And David, back then, Christ wasn't inside every single being. Christ was only in certain beings. Christ wasn't necessarily the earth was the creator of beings. The Father was creator of beings, but Christ wasn't necessarily the creator of everything that existed, the consciousness that existed within every being on earth. So there was only certain people, and those people are highlighted in the Bible and in other religious texts. But now Christ is pretty much in over a third of every being on this planet, unless they've come from other planets or unless they're elemental creatures. So elemental creatures are like your fairies and gnomes, and those people literally look like fairies and gnomes. I mean, look at Eckhart Tolle. He looks like a gnome. I mean, he's like 5 foot nothing, kind of like Bill and Gail. They are totally elemental creatures. Bill and Gail. They are like fairies and gnomes. That's what they look like. Little tiny people. They're like 5 feet tall.
And Gail had all that ability too.
The elementals are very, very powerful. They're very, very powerful because they derive their energy from the earth, and so they have a lot of power. Yeah.
Just to let you guys know, Gail is a friend, and in her past, she was a
remote viewer.
Yeah, a remote viewer for the CIA.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you don't believe in that stuff, why is the FBI and why is the CIA? I mean, wow. Anyway, let me get into this. Interrupt at any time. I'd like to get through. I'll get through the first one, which is very good. The second one is like it was written today. Wow. The third one gets into the Son, and I don't understand how he knew who the Son was. There was no evidence that his son was ever going to come. I mean, at the time of David, if anybody can show me, because all of the references to the coming of Christ are in the books of the prophets. And all the prophet books came after David. So anyway, let's just get into this, and I want you to hear this. And there are many people out there that like the Bible, people who don't want to hear the Bible, but there are people out there who
Yeah.
like the Bible and want to hear what we have to say
Most
about it.
highly sold book in the world, right?
Yep, they sell something like 13 or 100 million or something like that Bibles every year.
Wow.
Every year.
You figure for every hotel
around
room,
the world, around the
in
world.
every hotel room, there's one in every hotel room.
And most people have 1, 2, 3, 4 Bibles in their houses.
True. Yeah.
So it's crazy. So anyway, Genesis 1, book 1, verse 1, the two paths. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked. This is his very first one. Or set foot on the path of sinners, or sit in the seat of mockers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He's like a tree planted by streams of water, yielding its fruit in season, whose leaf doesn't wither, and who prospers in all he does. But not so the wicked. For they are like chaff driven off by the wind. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord guards the path of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. That was number one. Number two, and this could have been written today or yesterday. I mean, like May 26th or 27th. Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? I just got done listening to Tucker Carlson talking to this guy named Sachs, who's a whistleblower from the CIA, and he was saying about all the terrible things that our country has done by the CIA to overthrow governments and all this other stuff. Plotting.
What our CIA has done?
What's that?
What our CIA has done?
Our CIA
Okay.
is responsible for probably every war that's happened since World War II
Jeez.
within the world. Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth take their stand, and the rulers gather together against the Lord and against his anointed one. And against his anointed one. Who's David? How does David know about an anointed one? Let us break their chains and cast away their cords. The one enthroned.
It says the anointed one?
Yes.
So he's the one that foretells the person that's going to come and sit on his own throne. Is that the case, or do they just?
I don't know. That's why I want to talk to David, because I've been listening to pastors and I've been a Christian now for almost 30 years, and nobody's ever talked about David bringing this up, or if they did, they didn't explain that. Wait a minute, David was long before the prophets.
Yeah.
And up to the time of David was nothing but a history of the Jews, of taking over land, of them being taken over and becoming slaves, and then becoming armies and taking over other countries. It was a history. Then it got to David, and David brought in all this good stuff about the Lord. And he's now mentioning the anointed one, but there was, forgive me if anybody's out there and you know that somewhere up to the Psalms they start talking about the Son, then please let me know, because I'm not aware of it. So anyway, he goes on. He says, they plot in vain. The kings of the earth take their stand, and rulers gather together against the Lord and against his anointed one. Let us break their chains and cast away their cords. The one enthroned in heaven laughs. The one enthroned in heaven laughs. The Lord taunts them. Then he rebukes them in his anger and terrifies them in his fury. I have installed my king on Zion, upon my holy mountain. I will proclaim the decree spoken to me by the Lord. You are my son. Today I have become your father. Ask me, and I will make the nations your inheritance, the ends of the earth your possession. You will break them with an iron scepter. You will shatter them like poetry, like pottery. Therefore, be wise, O kings. Be admonished, O judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, S-O-N, lest he be angry, and you perish in your rebellion when his wrath ignites in an instant. And blessed are all who take refuge in him. He's obviously talking about Jesus. How could he know about Jesus? That was the second. Number 3. These are just first 3. And they're saying right there, he's saying.
You want to channel, but they're going to channel after you finish reading all these. So I'm just kind of listening.
I'm just going to read Psalm 3, and then I'll leave it up to you guys to come back.
No, that's fine. I like it when you read, because whenever you read, you bring in all the energies. So it helps me, because I'm kind of just watching to see where things sit, kind of like drawing charts in my own head. Because I can see when he says sun, like he's talking about like the light around Earth. And like, it's like, I don't know, it's like everyone or something. I don't know. I'll let him explain. I'm explaining what I'm seeing, but
let him explain it, because it is spelled S-O-N. It is the Son.
Yeah.
Son of the Father. Okay, number 3, and that's, I could go all day, but let me just go to number 3. Number 3, oh Lord, how my foes have increased. How many rise up against me? Many say of me, God will not deliver him. But you, O Lord, are a shield around me, my glory and the one who lifts my head. To the Lord I cry aloud, and he answers me from his holy mountain. I lie down and sleep. I wake again, for the Lord sustains me. I will not fear the myriads set against me on every side. Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God. Strike all my enemies on the jaw. Break the teeth of the wicked. Salvation belongs only to the Lord. And may your blessing be on your people. That was Psalms verse 3. I'll keep going till you want to interrupt me.
Keep going, because they're having are you still in chapter 1? And then
chapter 1.
Does it go to verse 6?
No, I've done verse 1, 2, and 3 of just Psalms 1.
They go through, if it's not too long. I mean, if you can, it only takes like a minute to read each one. Go up to 6, because that's what they keep showing me.
Okay, this one's number 4. Do you want me to go right to 6?
No, just go to 4 or 5 and then 6. And then
here, this is number 4.
Okay.
Answer me when I call, O God of my righteousness. You have relieved my distress. Show me grace and hear my prayer. How long, O men, will my honor be maligned? How long will you love vanity and seek after lies? Know that the Lord has set apart the godly for himself. The Lord hears when I call to him. Be angry, yet do not sin. On your bed, search your heart and be still. Offer the sacrifices of the righteous and trust in the Lord. All caps, L-O-R-D. All caps, Lord, trust in the Lord. Many ask, quote, who can show us the good? Unquote. Shine the light of your face upon us, O Lord. You have filled my heart with more joy than when grain and new wines abound. I will lie down and sleep in peace. For you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. Psalms 5. Give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my groaning. Attend to the sound of my cry, my King and my God, for to you I pray. In the morning, O Lord, you hear my voice. At daybreak, I lay my plea before you and wait in expectation. For you are not a God who delights in wickedness. No evil can dwell with you. The boastful cannot stand in your presence. You hate all workers of iniquity. You destroy those who tell lies. The Lord abhors the man of bloodshed and deceit. But I will enter your house by the abundance of your loving devotion. In reverence, I will bow down toward your holy temple. Lead me, O Lord, in your righteousness because of my enemies. Make straight your way before me. For not a word they speak can be trusted. Destruction lies within them. God, it feels like just like today in the world. Anyway, he goes on. Their throats are open graves. Their tongues practice deceit. Declare them guilty, O God. Let them fail by their own devices. Drive them out for their many transgressions, for they have rebelled against you. But let all who take refuge in you rejoice. Let them ever shout for joy. May you shelter them, that those who love your name may rejoice in you. Oh boy. I know the Holy Spirit's with me. He always makes me tear up when
Uh-huh.
the Holy Spirit comes in. There's something in there that, but let all who take refuge in you rejoice. Let them ever shout for joy. May you shelter them, that those who love your name may rejoice in you. For surely you, O Lord, bless the righteous. You surround them with the shield of your favor. Oh boy, I still have one more to read. Okay,
I
okay,
know
hang with me for a
very
second.
strong energy.
Oh, here, there's something written on Psalm 6. Says, do not rebuke me in your anger. And then there's a little note here. It says, for the chairmaster with stringed instruments, according to Sheminith, a psalm of David. This is a
Huh.
song of David. Okay, this is Psalms number 6.
So that's a song. Wait, so what does that mean? What's the little note from? Is it from you or is it from like just a
No,
little,
it's a subnote in whatever whoever I'm reading from.
huh?
It's like a footnote number 1 for the
Oh, okay.
choir master.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a note to somebody in a church who
Oh,
runs the
gotcha.
choir. And he's saying, for the choir master with stringed instruments, according to Sheminith, a psalm of David. Okay, here's 6. 1
Mm-hmm.
6. O Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger or discipline me in your wrath. Boy, we all do that. We've He's just telling us right there. Just ask God, don't do that to me, God, please.
Mm-hmm.
Oh Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger or discipline me in your wrath. Be merciful to me, O Lord, for I am frail. Heal me, O Lord, for my bones are in agony. My soul is deeply distressed. How long, O Lord? How long? Turn, O Lord, and deliver my soul. Save me because of your loving devotion, for there is no mention of you in death. Who can praise you from Sheol? I am weary from groaning. All night I flood my bed with weeping and drench my couch with tears. My eyes fail from grief. They grow dim because of all my foes. Depart from me, all you workers of iniquity, for the Lord has heard my weeping. The Lord has heard my cry for mercy. The Lord accepts my prayer. All my enemies will be ashamed and dismayed. They will turn back in sudden disgrace. That's the end of 6.
That's okay. So they just came in. So they said Shaul or whatever. They said that's no one can cry out to God for help from hell. They said that's hell. And that if that okay. So here's David. David says, when God entered unto me. This is the him from the past. This is not like his spirit, or this isn't Christ. This is like him back, like that, like wrote
At
these.
that time?
Yeah. Like that's why I think he ran forward. Like it's like he was running real fast, like to get to the future or whatever. Like that's how they showed him, like traveling through time. So he says that when God entered unto his hands would play the harp, and he would feel the gurgling in his throat for the voice to come out. He says he speaks of the empty graves in the throat, because when you don't have God within you, it's like there's an emptiness here in your throat that does not speak, that God cannot speak through you. But when God can speak through you, which is really weird, because whenever I channel a certain layer of consciousness, my throat gets all gurgly. That's interesting. But he says the consciousness that we are, the souls that we are, lie within, like where the Adam's apple is, and that's where our where it sits. And and that's why when we get like kind of like choked up, we right there in our throat, because that's kind of like where our consciousness is. He says, but when people don't have God within that consciousness, then they're like empty vessels here. And he says that we are frail, and we do rebuke. We send God out of us out of anger, but we think God will do that to us. And he says when he made the deal with God, he made a deal with God. He says it's written in the Bible. I really don't like saying exact verses because I'm afraid I'm going to be wrong. I feel like it's prophecy, but I feel like it's the 2nd Samuel. I don't know if it's Samuel chapter 2 or 2nd Samuel or something like that. If there's even a 2nd Samuel. He says that in Samuel, they writes about his deal of his covenant. It's a covenant. He says there's a covenant that we made with God, and God promised that there would be an anointed one that came from my lineage.
Yes, it comes from 2 Samuel. You're absolutely correct.
Seriously?
Yes.
Woo, okay. I almost didn't say it. So he says there was a covenant, and so there was going to be a anointed one that came from his lineage, and coming from his lineage, that's who he would speak of. So when you speak of the anointed one or the Messiah, he was speaking of almost like a future him that was coming, that God promised him if he was to be this, and that. So he made a promise. So he says that's who he was speaking of when he would speak. Because I asked before we were chanting, I asked him, I said, who are you talking about in those verses or in these Psalms? And it was his future descendant of him. And then as soon as future descendant of him, I just saw Peter, not Jesus.
Wow.
I saw Peter. Peter was a future descendant of David.
Wow.
And I'm like, is Jesus? And Peter says, Jesus is like a reincarnation of David. I am a descendant of David.
Wow.
Yeah. And so Peter, did anybody know that? And he says, not really, but there had to be that energetic frequency. There had to be that knowledge. There had to be that bloodline in there physically. And since Jesus wasn't physically, it looks like Jesus wasn't physically a descendant of David, but he was the same soul or the same spirit. Like there's different layers, like the one layer, like the spirit reincarnated almost like as Jesus, but it feels like the actual descendant or Messiah was, oh my gosh, I have chills everywhere. It was Peter. And that's why Peter was oh my gosh, they're saying that
we love Peter. Wow.
You know, oh my gosh, I'm like tingles everywhere. The duality of Jesus being killed this way and Peter being killed this way balanced something out as far as the Messiah goes. It's like a yin and yang. You know how they're like upside down? Didn't Peter get hung upside down?
Yes.
Yeah, and that had to happen that way. Oh my gosh, I have tingles and chills everywhere because he was that son or that Messiah. He was the physical DNA lineage of David. Peter was.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder Jesus called him the cornerstone, the rock.
The rock. That's it. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have chills everywhere. Wow. Yeah. Peter says, oh my gosh, I'm going to start crying. He says, that's
the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. He says, I was the one that was the descendant of, but I didn't know I was. He says, I didn't know I was at all. And not until the Holy Spirit came into me did I know that there was something special for me. But my visions, the things I would see, the things I would feel were things that I could have never experienced in my lifetime, in my simple lifetime. Peter wasn't a bad guy either. When he came, he wasn't like a murderer or anything. He was just a simple fisher guy, right? So he was never even like he wasn't like Saul or Paul or like any of the other bad guys. Yeah, he was just because he just said when he was born, he was good. He was just a good, innocent hearted guy. He was just, and that's why he's so fun loving, because he came into this world to bring lightheartedness, and he came into this world to raise it up. And by him physically being incarnated in the world at the time when Christ walked, those two together and the others brought about everything that we need now in order to be good people and to feel like good people inside. And he says, we know that we always say, David says, I know, but he's Jesus and he's David at the same time. He's flashing back and forth. He says, I know that I always say there's no such thing as good and bad, but there is bad. Bad is taking the life of another or getting in the way of someone's soul path, making somebody's soul path veer out of sorts, like go in the wrong direction. That would be considered bad in a sense, or evil or something like this. Knowing that you're doing this, knowing that you are changing somebody's future by wedging yourself into their life, even though they don't want you in their life, but you're wedging yourself in there and you're making yourself be in their life because you love them so much, but you know that they don't like you, but you manipulate them, you stay in their life, and then they don't meet the person they're supposed to be with, have the kids they're supposed to be with, have the job they're supposed to be with, they're with you instead. So this is a way of disrupting somebody's life path. And this is something that would be considered a karmic repercussion, whereby these things need to be played out in the other realms, where these lives will have to be played out over and over and over again until you can release yourself from doing these things to others. Now, this is something that are done in the Christ realms and the Christ universities, so to speak. When you become Christed, when you are on a planet that is Christed, there's really not karma anymore. There's just whether you are with God or without God, whether you are with God or without God. So you are the Christ or the Antichrist, Christ or the Antichrist. It's very, very simple. David's saying, he says, when the Messiah entered into this world, when his lineage entered into the world again, they brought about a DNA that sits within the earth. And when you're born into the earth, born into this rock, this third rock from the sun, when you're born into this rock, you are given this Messiah lineage. You're given this DNA that Peter had. And that's what everything is built on. And that is Christ. So born into this planet. Now there's beings that come from other worlds that are much lower consciousness. They're sneaking in through entities and through shadow beings and through grays and things of sorts that don't have souls. These beings will sneak in, and that's how a lot of really evil things are happening on this planet, because things from other worlds are coming in. But if you're born on Earth, you're from Earth, you're born in with that Messiah energy that comes from that covenant that God promised David, and then Peter then birthed into this world. That's why Jesus called him the rock, earth, rock, third rock from the sun. That's very interesting. So Peter says, and he's being very serious right now, but he's kind of like laughing. He says, you didn't know how important I was, huh? Because him and Jesus, if it wasn't Jesus, I would have thought Jesus wasn't serious either, because they're always joking around. But yeah. David says, when you ask God humbly, and you know that you are frail, and you know that in your bones you carry evil, you carry all of the things of your ancestors of the past, but you also carry within you that Messiah energy, you can know that you have a savior within you. You have a savior within you because you were born on this planet. This planet birthed you. You came from a human being. You're here, so you have that Messiah energy in you, so you can ask that to save you. In your bones, the individuals that get osteoporosis and arthritis and things of this sort, of the people that cannot feel strength within themselves with God within them. They cannot feel that they have the Messiah within them. So if you have bone issues, you have things going on, you break your bones a lot, then you may not feel the love of God. You may not feel the support of God. You may not feel worthy of God. Whatever the reason is, tell yourself and tell God and ask God to please allow you to feel the love of God within your bones. And you'll begin to feel something very much different from what you have felt up until that point. Also in your organs and all of these areas of your body, you need to feel the love of God within you, because you have the Messiah within you. Many think they have to accept Christ and get baptized and go through all of these different orders and sequences to ascend up in through. And your consciousness does. Your consciousness does ascend and expand and get bigger and bigger. But your human being, your bones, your skeleton, your skin that surrounds you is your God particle. That's the God that is around you, is in your skin. But your bones, that's your human, that's your skeleton, that's which will go back to the earth, which came from the earth. That's what needs to know the love of God, and that's the rock. That's the savior. That's the energy and the consciousness and just the being within you that will save you. And by understanding that that's there for you, you won't want to do bad things. You won't want to bring pain upon yourself. You won't want to hurt others. You won't want to hurt yourself. You will just feel good. You'll just feel good. And when you start to feel good, this is when your consciousness starts to ascend. So that you've got a few different things working at one time. You've got your God consciousness ascending. You've got your Christ consciousness pulling the Christ consciousness into you to forgive all of your faults within your bones, within your like your teeth carry all of your memories, your bones carry everything within you, because this is you, this is your skeleton. But the Christ consciousness forgives the bones. And then we've always got the organs, all of the muscles and all this. This is the thing that the quote unquote devil affects. And the devil affects this because it's the strength, the strongness, where you feel like I'm stronger than God. I'm stronger than God. But if you can ask for the love of God into all of your muscle tissues in your body, you will have God throughout your entire physical body, and it will eradicate disease from your body. It will eradicate depression. It will eradicate obesity. It will release all these things from you, because everything that's on you and everything that's in you that is not in working order is because there's no God in there. It's because God is not in there, and you have that savior in there, and you don't need to understand anything other than the fact that you were born on earth. So you have that in you. It's in your DNA, and just ask that the love of God and the forgiveness of God be within your bones, and read Psalm 1:6. Read it once or twice a day. Read it. Wow. Feel it, ask to feel it within you, and you will feel like a new person. This is my favorite. David says it's his favorite, because he said that he wow. spoke it without remembering it. It was kind of like an automatic writing type of thing that he did, where he just kind of spoke it and came through, and then it got written down. And then when he would read it, he would cry, he would weep, because he felt so weak. And he felt like, he says, I felt so weak. How could something so strong like a Messiah or a Savior come from me when I was so weak and so frail? And he felt weak and frail his entire life. He felt weak and frail every day of his life, because he felt the strength of God within him, but he didn't feel like he was the strength of God. He says, but now he knows and sees from that side that we can all have the strength of God within us, and we can live these good lives. He says, look at how many people are on the planet right now. Look at how many, billions of people are on the planet, and think of a problem that you have, and think of how big that problem becomes. He says, Joe, the issue with you and the man and your wife, and the man yelling at your wife, it became a big issue within your mind, but 1 billion people over, they have their own issue that has nothing to do with your issue, but that issue will consume you, and you'll feel it in your bones. You'll feel it in your bones. And this is where this anger and these unresolved things go. They go into your bones. And this is why we have to expel these things from our bones, and allow the Messiah energy to rebuke the negativity from us, rather than rebuking us from God, or God from us. But think of all the little tiny issues in each person's life that feel so big. Those big issues that are so little to somebody else, they go, oh, big deal. But to us, it's huge. It's big. It has all of our attention. It has all of our awareness. It has all of our body's feelings. It has everything. And God can take that away. God can take that away just like that, take it away, and the other people that are involved in the drama that's involved with everyone, and just boom, it'll be gone. You won't feel it in your bones anymore, and it'll be gone. So we know that this issue is over now, but we just use this as an example because you asked us when we were here last time. You asked about this, and we happened to be here. Oh yeah, Jesus in the gold robes was here one time. I remember when you asked about something like that. I don't remember, but anyways, Peter says, yeah, he was here. He's here all the time. David's here all the time, Peter says.
Wow, he just hasn't let us know.
I just haven't called him David. I've called him Jesus with gold robes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, how interesting. Well, listen, our time goes by so stinking fast.
Oh
I wanted to read the most famous of the Psalms, which is the 23rd Psalm. But let me just read the first short paragraph of Psalm 22. Psalm 22.
Okay.
Psalm 22. My God, why have you forsaken me?
God, why? That's it? Uh-oh, you're frozen. Oh.
Isn't that what Jesus said on the cross? Isn't that why everybody, all the pastors in the church go, why was Jesus asking for God if he was God? Because he said, my God, why have you forsaken me? All he was doing was reciting Psalm 22. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me? So far from my words of groaning. I cry out by day, oh my God, but you don't answer, and by night, but I have no rest. That's what Jesus was talking about when he was on the cross. And everybody goes, everybody takes that statement as if it never existed before. It was there in Psalm 22.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was reciting Psalm 22. I can't believe that God would actually feel that way. I can see why David would feel this way. I cry out by day, oh my God, but you don't answer me, and by night I have no rest. Don't we all feel that way? Mm-hmm. If we don't trust in God? I mean, it's easy for people to say, I trust in God. I trust in God. I really do. I know that he has my best interests at heart. And then they go out and do the things that they do, and they don't even believe what they said. Mm-hmm. So why should God believe in you if you say you believe in him, but you don't even live that life? You don't live it. And we all have not lived it. We've all done bad things in our life in the eyes of God. Maybe not in human eyes, but we know that it disappointed God. 23rd Psalm. 23rd Psalm. Everybody knows the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. This is when
I get rid of curses. This is the one I had to read when I was in the hotel that I had to be in for 6 months. When the lady told me I had to curse, and she told me I had to read this like 5 times a day, every day for like 28 days or something, and then rip it up and burn it. But I couldn't burn it because I didn't have any fire. So I ripped it up into a million pieces and buried it in the earth. Anyways, okay, I want to hear this.
Tawny knows the whole thing, but in Spanish.
Wow.
She recites it in Spanish. I
That's
think
cool.
she knows it in English too. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in the paths of righteousness for the sake of his name. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's the 23rd Psalm.
That's cool.
And we all know it from the first passage. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Think of that. Just think of that first sentence. The Lord is my shepherd. What is a shepherd? What is a shepherd?
Jesus,
The shepherd stands with his staff, and all the sheep know the shepherd, and
Yeah.
they follow his commands. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Do sheep worry? Sheep don't worry because their shepherd leads them to the green grass where they can eat. They don't worry. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He even leads me beside quiet waters, and he restores my soul. He guides me in the path of righteousness for the sake of his name, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. We all do. It's life. That's why our souls are here. They want to experience this. They want to see it. It's like it's like a game, folks. It's like a game. You know, who can make it all the way through the game doing the works of God, doing the works of the Lord? None of us. Not a single one of us. And even when the souls inside of us are saying, hey, no, go right, go right. No, you went left. Oh, no. Okay, we got to figure this out. That's us, as humans. We trust in God, but we don't trust in God. We trust in ourselves. So I think what the lesson from today is, give it a try. Just trust in God and just hope for the best.
Yeah, Janice called me, or Janice texted me this morning. Oh, I was obsessed with Heart Math. I went up, saw them. I know I don't have very long. I got a couple minutes. We got like 7 minutes. So I went up to Heart Math with Bill and Gail a while back, and they so the snow globe. I saw a picture online at one point, and I was like, "Whoa, that's what the snow globe looks like in real life!" And it was a picture of what Heart Math had released of the heart field, the field of the heart. So it's like this bubble with another bubble around it with all these little grids, and they call it like the matrix of the heart or something. So it's, or the torus, the torus, TORUS. So the snow globe actually represents the torus, which is like our electromagnetic field around us. So this morning I got an email from Heart Math that they released this new function on their app where you can just put your finger over the camera on your phone, and it'll gauge your resonance of your heart to see if you're in resonance with your heart, because they say that our first mind is in our heart, and that sends an impulse to our brain, which then sends off a thought, and then we react. And I believe that's true, because the guides have said that our heart sparks, and then our brain is created like weeks later. Our heart's beating first. So I was kind of obsessing about Heart Math and like getting in resonance with the heart. And I was having the kids sit for 5 minutes still with their finger over the thing, and they were doing it. And their resonance, their coherence to their heart was like 3.2, and mine was like 0.1. No matter how chill I tried to get, I was like just not in alignment with my heart. I was just like, geez. And they were just like so in alignment with their heart. And I was like, is this thing even working? I'm totally meditating and my heart's not going up. But anyways, so then I see a text from Janice. Hadn't talked to Janice in forever. And she says, I'm reading the snow globe. She says, my life sucks right now. She says, and one of my clients that I just attuned to Reiki gave me the snow globe to read. And she's like, so I'm reading it. It's so funny that her client gave her the snow globe to read, which is by me and my dad. We wrote it. Janice used to walk around with the snow globe tucked in her belt buckle up here because the Snow Globe book actually clears your energy. The guides had programmed it where it actually clears your energy. The old one, the one that had Snow Globe written in small letters in the front, I think is the one that does that. Anyways,
Amazing.
so she's walking around with that all the time on her. But so her client gives her the Snow Globe book. So she was reading it this morning and she says her client has been manifesting everything that she wants using the Snow Globe. Every day she gets up, she does it. Because remember, the book, we initially wrote that book as a manifesting book. And at the very end of the book, there's a manifestation exercise. And I never think about that. I always think about it as just clearing my energy. So I get out the Snow Globe and I was reading it today and before the show, and it was 11/11. I was like, oh, it's 11/11. I'm going to set a manifestation goal that I have all my bills paid and I don't have to stress about anything for the next 3 months so that I can get this course out and I can get all my stuff done and I don't have to worry about doing sessions or this or that. Not even, so I did the Snow Globe exercise, not even joking. About an hour and a half later, so about 45 minutes before you called, Papa, I get a call from my insurance company and they're like, oh, we made a mistake. And I was like, oh, great. They made a mistake. Because I was robbed 2 years ago and they stole a whole bunch of really expensive things from my car. And I made all the claims and everything. I thought I was over. And they said, we owe you. It's like to the T, exactly like my overhead for the next 3 months. I was just like, are you joking me? Like, they're like, we're going to send you a check. Do you want it electronically or by paper? And I was like, what?
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It's like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's not a small amount of money. It's 3 months of overhead and I've got a nice house and a nice car and it's like, it's a good amount of money that they messed up on. They just forgot to put the items on the list that I had claimed. And I had sent them requests like a few times over the last like year and a half. Like, could you guys review this and look this over? And nothing ever happened. And then today at 11/11 and doing the Snow Globe and wanting overhead for the next few months so I could have the freedom to get this stuff launched. Hour and a half later, I got that call. So now I'm like, okay, I'm sitting pretty for the next few months. I can focus on, getting Jesus's words out to the world because that's what they wanted. They wanted me to be able to get this stuff out to the world. So, I have all these classes I've signed up for that I haven't taken because I'm too busy working. So now I'm just going to take the classes, learn all about it and just, do my thing. So I'm excited. And it's because of the Snow Globe. I just imagined 3 months overhead in block letters, pulled it into my Snow Globe. I saw all these cords appear and all this stuff appear. And I just called in the light from Christ from above me and it cleared all the cords and it cleared everything. And it made 3 months overhead all shiny in front of me. And then I was like, oh yeah, that probably didn't even work, but it did. So very exciting. So if you guys don't have the Snow Globe, it's free on our website. Grab it. There's a PDF where my dad took a lot of time to read every single one of my books. The ones with Bill, he read with Bill and Gail. The ones that are just me and him, he read those alone. And they're all audio. They're all on the website available if you guys want to download them. And the Snow Globe is one of the free ones if you want to download it. It's really good.
Okay, we're out of time, Marissa. I want to say goodbye to everybody.
Okay.
I'll be gone for 3 weeks, but I'll see if there's some way I can get into a show somewhere over there in Spain or France or Italy. But anyway, and
I'll try and be here each day, guys. But my dad definitely motivates me. But I'm going to try and stay true to this show and be here each day, even if it's just for 30 minutes to get on and channel and say something.
Yeah, you should. You should get on if you can, even just for a short one, just to say hello. Yeah. So anyway, until next time, I'll see you all next time. We better go, Marissa, before we get over the hour.
Guys, see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay.
Bye. Bye,
everybody. I'll let you know how Papa's doing.